Number 1.
On October 1, 2003, Filipe was on his way to work with his two brothers when he got in a two-vehicle accident near Airport Pulling Road and Immokalee Road in Naples, Florida. The officer that reported to the scene was Corporal Stephen Calkins. Put a pin in him, we will be discussing him at length later. Filipe received tickets regarding the accident and driving without a license or insurance. Corporal Calkins then apparently put Filipe in the patrol car and drove away. It doesn't seem like Filipe was actually arrested at this point. He was not Mirandized, and I can find no mention of Calkins handcuffing him, but I also don't understand what was said to get Filipe in the car. The only thing I can think of is that Filipe was told he was being arrested, and Calkins did not follow proper procedure to do so. Now things get weird. The last confirmed sighting of Filipe, not by Calkins, who is an unreliable narrator at best, was at the scene of that accident. Later in the afternoon, Felipe's boss called the local jail to begin the process of getting Filipe bailed out. Side note, what a good boss, and discovered that Filipe had never even been brought to the jail. When it was revealed that Corporal Calkins had picked Filipe up, Calkins admitted he changed his mind about arresting Filipe. He claimed he dropped him off at a local Circle K gas station, where he saw Filipe walking towards a bank of payphones near the building. Filipe has never been seen again. There is no concrete evidence of foul play, and investigating officials have posited that it is possible he may be flying under the radar in order to avoid being arrested for the accident. A month after Filipe disappeared, a warrant was put out for his arrest for missing a court appearance in regards to the accident. There has, however, been no evidence of this found by passport offices in Mexico or the United States consulate. At the time of his disappearance, Filipe was 5'7" and weighed around 150 pounds. He had black hair that he wore long and often tied in a ponytail. His eyes are brown. He was last seen wearing a t-shirt, jeans, and boots. He speaks fluent Spanish and limited English. Much like my research with Filipe Santos, I could not dig up much information regarding Terrence Williams' earlier life. From what I can infer, though, he was a caring man who strived to take care of his family. He had a good relationship with his parents, as evidenced by their righteous campaigning after his disappearance, which we will get to in the next section. Beyond that, though, there is not an abundance of information publicly available regarding who Terrence was as a person. On January 12, 2004, Corporal Stephen Calkins pulled off to the side of the road to investigate a white Cadillac that was having engine issues. Terrence Williams was driving the car and may have faced a number of infractions. He didn't have a license or insurance, the car's registration was out of date, and he did not own the car. Calkins, for whatever reason, chose not to issue any tickets. Instead, he claims to have driven Terrence to a Circle K near Wiggins Pass Road and Route 41. Note, this is not the same Circle K he claimed to drop Filipe off at. Calkins also claimed that Terrence told him that he was an employee at that Circle K. He was not. Calkins stated he did not interact with any Circle K employees while dropping Terrence off, though an employee did state she saw both of them there. Calkins used the restroom and Terrence filled a small canister with gas before walking away from the station without Calkins. So, at the very least, we know they were both there that morning. Later, Calkins began tweaking his story to fit newly discovered facts. For instance, he claimed to have left Terrence at the gas station, returned to the Cadillac to begin the towing process, and then called the Circle K to check on Terrence, only to discover that he was not an employee there. Cell phone records do not support this account. Just like we see in Felipe's disappearance, there is no concrete evidence of foul play here, but Terrence has not been seen since that day, walking away from Circle K. At the time of his disappearance, Terrence stood somewhere between 5'8" and 6 tall and weighed between 160 and 175 pounds. Both ears are pierced. He had long hair he wore in dreadlocks. He also had 3 tattoos at the time of his disappearance. The letter T on the left side of his chest, the initials Eastern Time on his right shoulder, and Terrence in red ink on his left forearm. He also has 2 gold cap teeth, both engraved with the letter T. The obvious connection here is that both men were last seen by Corporal Stephen Calkins. Filipe was in an accident where Gaskins was the responding officer, and Gaskins pulled over to question Terrence regarding the vehicle he was operating. Both men were in some sort of vehicular-centric stress. Both men were put into Gaskins' cruiser. Both, Gaskins claimed, were both last dropped off at Circle K gas stations. Which is just so strangely specific to me. I could maybe give more credence to the story if Gaskins had just said that he dropped the men off at gas stations. Gas stations are hubs of activity. The men would have been able to get in contact with people to pick them up or get what they needed to move forward with their lives. But the fact that Gaskins maintains that they were both dropped off specifically at Circle K really sticks with me. Plus, as Gaskins told and retold his stories, especially his story of dropping Terrence off, they became more and more inconsistent. It's not a good look, really. Prior to these disappearances, Corporal Stephen Gaskins had a clean disciplinary record, but he had clearly mishandled the Terrence Williams case at the very least. Terrence's parents campaigned to have Gaskins removed from his position, and they succeeded. Gaskins was fired despite his 17-year track record of good behavior. Note: just because he had 17 years without having anything reported against him doesn't mean he never did anything wrong. Police misconduct is notoriously underreported due to fear of retaliation. Gaskins attempted to appeal his firing, but was unsuccessful. He continues to this day to claim he was just a scapegoat, a convenient target, since he was the last person to see both men. Gaskins reportedly underwent 3 lie detector tests. He failed at least one of these. This, along with the strange Circle K stories and inconsistencies, make him the prime subject of theories regarding the disappearances of Filipe Santos and Terrence Williams. Before I get into these theories, it's important to note that all of these theories are just speculation. This case has been a favorite of internet sleuths for over a decade, so many ideas have come up, and the threads of these ideas have become entwined and tangled. There is a lot to cover, and a lot of accusations to touch on. No matter what seems to be the obvious solution here, nothing has been proven, and therefore any statements here are only allegations. I mean it. Keep the word allegedly on the tip of your tongue here, folks. Nothing has been proven or supported by law enforcement publicly. Shocker. With that huge grain of salt on the table, let's look at a few of the more popular theories. The theories regarding these two cases really fall under 2 umbrellas. Either Corporal Stephen Gaskins had absolutely nothing to do with the cases, or he is involved in some way. The only theory under the former umbrella is that the cases aren't related at all. This is pretty self-explanatory. Filipe, fearing being deported due to the citations from the accident, left the United States and fled to Mexico, and Terrence went on the run to avoid the possible citations that Gaskins could dole out from the stop, or for another reason unknown to us at this time. I will say that I don't really find this very compelling. There has been no sign of either Filipe or Terrence since Gaskins claims to have dropped them off. It just doesn't seem likely. Under the other umbrella is where the internet sleuths tend to gather. There are several theories. First, and most commonly mentioned, is that Gaskins is allegedly responsible for both disappearances. Some people believe that means outright murder, but I have another train of thought. Maybe he took them somewhere rural, left them, and they succumbed to the elements. This is something that the police are known to have done in other places, most notably in Canada, where officers would arrest Indigenous men, drive them out of the city, and leave them on the side of the road to make their own way back. For more information around this, try looking up the Saskatoon freezing deaths. Another theory that goes along with this is that Gaskins is, allegedly, responsible for either Filipe's disappearance or Terrence's, but not the other. Then the other disappeared of his own accord, met foul play at someone else's hand, or met some other yet unknown fate. The last theory, that I have not seen mentioned anywhere online, is that Gaskins could possibly be, allegedly, be working with another person or persons. The logical group to jump to here is the KKK, or other group with hatred towards people of color. Ultimately, there is no evidence of any theory, apart from the fact that Corporal Steve Gaskins is the last known point of contact with both men. It is widely believed that he is responsible for whatever happened to Filipe and Terrence, and he has faced several lawsuits in regards to Terrence's death in particular. Tyler Perry, who is best known for his work in film, and as an advocate for racial justice, has been outspoken about this case. I don't really have the bandwidth to get into that, but you can read more about it here. If you have any information, or think you may know something, regarding the disappearances of Terrence Williams and/or Filipe Santos, please contact the Collier County Sheriff's Office at 239-252-9300. You can also submit tips anonymously to Crime Stoppers by calling 1-800-780-8477. Alternatively, you can reach the Q Center tip line 27/7 by calling 910-232-1687. Q Community United Effort Center is a non-profit organization based out of North Carolina that assists in missing persons cases.
Number 2.
19-year-old Virginia Wood has been missing from Chocoinity, North Carolina since March 10, 2007. She disappeared while on a spring break road trip to Texas and Mexico with her friend Kelly Gaskins. Virginia Wood was born on November 11, 1987. She was a college freshman at Appalachian State University in Boone, North Carolina, and planned to study accounting. She would make the 6 hours drive home to Chocoinity, North California to visit her friends and family whenever she could. Described as shy and quiet, Wood was a Dean's List student. Wood's closest friend since high school was Kelly Gaskins, who was also from Chocoinity. Soon after her semester was over, Wood told her mother she was going to visit her friend Kelly Gaskins in Brownsville, Texas for spring break in March of 2007. On March 8, 2007, Wood packed her bags and started a 1,400-mile drive south from Boone, North Carolina to Texas. She took her social security card and a copy of her birth certificate along so she could cross the border to Mexico with her friend. Wood spoke with her mother twice in the following days, telling her she had reunited with Kelly Gaskins in Brownsville, Texas, but calls to Wood soon started to going straight to voicemail. On March 10, 2007, she called a friend from Texas, stating that she was going to cross the border to Cancun, Mexico with Kelly Gaskins. Wood never returned home and has not been heard from since. On March 19, 2007, Wood's mother called the Beaufort County Sheriff's Office to file a missing persons report when she didn't show up for classes. Wood's vehicle, a black 2003 Nissan Sentra with the North Carolina license plate number TTZ6801, has never been found. 19-year-old Kelly Gaskins was a childhood friend of Wood's from Chocoinity, North Carolina. On December 26, 2006, Gaskins and her boyfriend, Irvin Braxton Williams, left their hometown for the border town of Brownsville, Texas. On January 15, 2007, Gaskins called her mother saying she was in Matamoros, Mexico with her boyfriend. They reportedly found a job working in an hotel, and she complained that she did not like living there. Gaskins is wanted by the North Carolina Department of Corrections for a probation violation. She left the state while she was on misdemeanor probation for drug possession in North Carolina. Williams is also wanted by the Beaufort County Sheriff's Office for failing to appear on charges of first-degree arson, first-degree burglary, possession of cocaine, assault by pointing a gun, and possession of marijuana. Police found no evidence, means, or motive for foul play in Virginia Wood's disappearance. They believe Wood may have information on the location of Williams and Gaskins. A $1,000 reward is being offered by Crime Stoppers for information that confirms the whereabouts of Virginia Wood or Kelly Gaskins or leads to the arrest of Irvin Williams. An additional $1,000 reward is being offered by the Wood family for information that leads to the confirmed whereabouts of Virginia Wood. The circumstances of Virginia Wood's disappearance remain unclear, and her case is currently classified as a missing case. Her case remains unsolved. Caucasian female with brown hair, dyed red, and hazel eyes. She is 52'6" tall and weighs 175 pounds. Wood has a small reddish birthmark below her right eye and a 2-inch scar on the inside of her left eye. Her eyebrow is pierced and she wears eyeglasses. If you have any information regarding the disappearance of Virginia Wood, please contact the North Carolina Bureau of Investigation 252-756-4755 or the Beaufort County Sheriff's Office at 252-946-0101 or Beaufort County Crime Stoppers at 252-974-6400.
Number 3.
19-year-old Kelly Gaskins has been missing from Chocoinity, North Carolina since March 10, 2007. She disappeared after reuniting with her friend Virginia Wood on a spring break road trip to Texas and Mexico along with her boyfriend, Irvin Williams. Kelly Gaskins was born on January 11, 1988, and grew up around Craven and Beaufort County in North Carolina. She was a childhood friend of Virginia Wood from Chocoinity, North Carolina, whom she met in high school on December 26, 2006. Gaskins and her boyfriend, 23-year-old Irvin Braxton Williams, left their hometown a day after Christmas and headed for the border town of Brownsville, Texas. On January 15, 2007, Gaskins called her mother saying she was in Matamoros, Mexico with her boyfriend. They reportedly found a job working in a hotel, and she complained that she did not like living there. In March of 2007, Gaskins' friend, Virginia Wood, drove to Texas from Chocoinity, North Carolina, to visit the pair for spring break. The exact location is unclear, as Wood told her mother she was in Texas in March, but Gaskins told hers she was in Mexico in January. On March 10, 2007, Wood called a friend from Texas, saying that she was going to cross the border to Cancun, Mexico with Kelly Gaskins. Gaskins and her boyfriend have not been heard from since, along with Wood, who never returned home. On December 10, 2007, Gaskins' mother filed a missing report case to the Beaufort County Sheriff's Office. For years, authorities refused to accept her missing persons report and considered Gaskins as a fugitive due to a probation violation. Gaskins is wanted by the North Carolina Department of Corrections for a probation violation. She left the state while she was on misdemeanor probation for drug possession in North Carolina. Williams is also wanted by the Beaufort County Sheriff's Office for failing to appear on charges of first-degree arson, first-degree burglary, possession of cocaine, assault by pointing a gun, and possession of marijuana. Police found no evidence, means, or motive for foul play in Kelly Gaskins' disappearance. They believe her boyfriend, Irvin Williams, may have information on the location of Wood and Gaskins. A $1,000 reward is being offered by Crime Stoppers for information that confirms the whereabouts of Virginia Wood or Kelly Gaskins, or that leads to the arrest of Irvin Williams. An additional $1,000 reward is being offered by the Wood family for information that leads to the confirmed whereabouts of Virginia Wood. The circumstances of Kelly Gaskins' disappearance remain unclear, and her case is currently classified as a missing persons case. Her case remains unsolved. Caucasian female with brown hair and brown eyes. She is 5'3" tall and weighs 100 pounds. Gaskins has a tattoo of a sun in black ink, with curvy rays on her right shoulder blade with a peace symbol in the center. If you have any information regarding the disappearance of Kelly Gaskins or Virginia Wood, please contact the North Carolina Bureau of Investigation at 252-756-4755, the Beaufort County Sheriff's Office, 252-946-0101, or the Beaufort County Crime Stoppers, 252-974-6400.
Number 4.
Jarrod Johnston was born on August 21, 1988. When he was growing up, he split time between his dad, Steve, and his biological mom. His dad remarried a woman named Lisa in 2003, and Jarrod became a big brother to Lisa's kids. Jarrod's dad, Lisa, and his sister, Brittany, were interviewed in this episode, and they all said Jarrod was insanely smart and kind. Brittany also said that Jarrod was a very protective older brother and that he loved to spend time with his family. One night Jarrod had thrown a party while Steve and Lisa were out of town. Jarrod took several prescription pills and had to be taken to the hospital. After this he became addiction to medication. He had even taken some medication from his grandma, who needed the pills due to having multiple surgeries. For the next several years, he was in and out of rehab and was diagnosed with bipolar disorder. During his junior year of high school, Jarrod's parents homeschooled him so that he wouldn't be pressured into taking drugs again. Steve and Lisa said that it seemed like Jarrod was back to his usual self, and he taught himself how to play the guitar. They were even planning a family trip to Yazoo County, Mississippi, where they had lived for a while. No one ever thought that this would be the last normal family outing they would ever have. On a hot, humid 4th of July in 2007, Jarrod, his parents and siblings all took a road trip to Yazoo County, where they used to live. They now were living in Franklin, just a few hours away. Jarrod was going to stay with a friend, while Jarrod's siblings stayed with their grandma. Jarrod wasn't allowed to stay with his grandma because he had taken her medication in the past. The kids were all dropped off at their grandma's, and Steve and Lisa said goodbye, not knowing this would be the last time they would see their son. On July 7, 2007, Jarrod was dropped back off at his grandma's by the mom of his friend. Jarrod had told his family that his friend said he could stay with them for a few weeks, but it turned out that he was only able to stay there a few days. Jarrod's grandma said he couldn't stay at her home, so Jarrod took his backpack, duffel bag and guitar and walked away. Brittany, his sister, tried to run after him, but he told her he could take care of himself. Jarrod's grandma called Steve and Lisa to let them know about it, and they weren't concerned at first. Jarrod had a history of leaving the home for a few days to clear his head. Jarrod's girlfriend, Casey, also lived nearby, so they thought he had gone to stay with her. It turned out that they were very wrong. In August 2007, Jarrod's parents called Casey Parker, his girlfriend, and asked to speak to him. Casey said Jarrod was never there and that she didn't even know he was in town. Jarrod's parents were confused and scared. Steve called the Yazoo County Sheriff's Department to file a missing persons report. They told him that Jarrod's grandma had to be the one to call to report it since she actually lived in town. There were also several sightings of Jarrod around the downtown area, including the mom of the friend, where Jarrod had been a few weeks earlier. However, no one heard from him, and they were worried. Jarrod only had a 3-month supply left of his medication for his bipolar disorder. His parents were worried that he was hooked on drugs again and needed help. In December 2007, Lisa got a call from her nephew Jeffrey, who lived in Jackson, Mississippi. Jeffrey said he thought he had seen Jarrod at the mall there. This lead turned out to be a dead end. Throughout Jarrod's investigation, there would be several different investigators put on and removed from the case. One of the detectives was Dennis Mulder. He told Jarrod's parents that there wasn't much they could do because there was no sign of foul play and because Jarrod was 18. Steve and Lisa were pissed, and so they decided to do their own investigation. They made missing persons flyers and put out information on missing persons sites. In February 2008, Jarrod's parents received emails from someone saying, "If you don't do what we say, or give us $50,000, we'll kill your son." They contacted a local FBI agency, and the agency did some digging. The emails turned out to be a hoax and were coming from overseas. The Johnstons were heartbroken once again and had to go back to square one. There were various sightings in the later years of this investigation. In March 2008, the Johnstons drove 400 miles to Jackson, Mississippi, to look at the lead they hadn't gotten from Lisa's nephew. They had hoped that, if Jarrod was in Jackson, that he would be at the mall again. Brittany took some missing persons flyers around to various stores, and one woman who worked at a jewelry store recognized Jarrod. She said he had come into the store to buy an engagement ring, but he didn't purchase it because his card declined. He said he'd come back, but never did. The Johnstons reported this to the police, but the investigation didn't lead anywhere because the surveillance footage had been deleted. In July 2010, the police received a call from a woman named Kelly Height. Kelly lived in Atlanta, Georgia, and she said she had taken in a young man she thought was Jarrod. It had been 3 years since Jarrod disappeared, but Kelly came across Jarrod's story on Facebook and she 100% believed it was Jarrod. This young man had been found slumped over a guardrail in downtown Atlanta. When Kelly asked him what his name was, he told her it was Samuel Alexifus. Kelly asked him multiple times how to spell that, and he gave her various spellings. He also didn't remember anything about his life. Kelly thought maybe he had been in an accident and had amnesia. Kelly contacted the police and was contacted by Detective Mulder. Mulder asked Kelly to take pictures of Samuel and email them to him. Kelly did, and Det. Mulder forwarded the pictures to the Johnstons. They 100% believed it was Jarrod, the man even had a cap tooth. When the time finally came for the Johnstons to go to Atlanta, Jarrod, or Samuel, was gone. Kelly had tried to help Samuel get a bus ticket to go to New York, but was unable to because he didn't have an ID. Kelly gave the man her phone number and he left. The Johnstons and Kelly all came together to try to get answers about Jarrod and this man together. The Johnstons once again reached out the FBI agency that helped them with the emails. They wanted to know if this mysterious Atlanta man was their son. He wasn't. His real name was Nathaniel Wright. Nathaniel may not have Jarrod, but Nathaniel and Kelly were reunited. Nathaniel even agreed that he looked like Jarrod. In March 2012, a new detective took over Jarrod's case. Det. Tommy Irvine realized that there was no paperwork on Jarrod's case. He asked Det. Mulder about it and Det. Mulder said there never want any paperwork. They had to work together to go over the timeline and any facts they had on the case. 2 weeks later, Det. Irvine received a tip that there was a young man in an Atlanta hospital in a coma. Lisa said she was excited again, but this time was cautious because they had gotten excited the last time they received a tip. In June 2012, they found out that it was not Jarrod. This case is still open and it remains unsolved. Steve Johnston's sister was murdered 25 years before Jarrod disappeared. His sister, Susan, went to a concert with some friends and was murdered by a couple she met through her friend. Her body was found in a lake and her family was able to identify her when a composite sketch of her was in the newspaper. This case is so sad. I feel so bad for Lisa, Steve, Grandma, and Jarrod's siblings. They were told so many times that Jarrod could possibly be alive, and it was all dead ends. I really want to know what happened in this case, and this is the reason why I prefer solved cases over unsolved, because it makes me wonder. Did Jarrod walk away to start a new life? Was it foul play? Did he meet the wrong people and overdose on drugs? Where is he? They also showed pictures of Nathaniel, the man who they thought was Jarrod, and they really do look so much alike. I really thought it was going to be Jarrod, and it's a shame that it wasn't. If you have any additional information, contact the Yazoo County Sheriff's Department at 662-741-5611.
Number 5.
81-year-old Robert Harrod was last seen in Placentia, California on July 27, 2009. He disappeared after spending the afternoon doing work at his home on Carnation Drive in preparation for the arrival of his newlywed wife. Robert Harrod was born on January 6, 1928. He was married to Georgia Harrod, with whom he had 3 daughters. The family moved from Monrovia to Placentia, California in 2002. After his wife passed away after a prolonged illness in 2008, Harrod reconnected with Fontel Hedder, a woman he had been engaged to in Missouri before the Korean War. They separated when Harrod joined the military, with both of them later marrying on their own. On June 29, 2009, Harrod got married to Fontel Hedder at the county courthouse in Fullerton, and they were planning to move in together to his Placentia home in Orange County, California. Harrod owned several properties and other assets that were worth approximately $5 million. He left behind 3 daughters, a grandson, and 3 great-grandchildren. On July 27, 2009, Harrod was at his residence at 522 Carnation Drive in central Placentia, California. He was working on repairs with his son-in-law between 11 a.m. and 12 p.m. in preparation for his newlywed wife's arrival. Around 2:30 p.m., his son-in-law drove off to Home Depot to pick up supplies. Upon his return around 3 p.m. he found Harrod's longtime maid waiting on the porch. The front door to the house was locked, so he let the maid in through a back door. Harrod was nowhere to be seen and has not been heard from since. That evening his family called in a missing persons report to the police when Harrod did not return home. At the time of his disappearance, Harrod was expecting to be reunited with his new wife, Fontel Hedder, who was scheduled to arrive 2 days later. She had returned to her home in Missouri to pack up her belongings and was then going to make the trip back to Placentia. Harrod's wallet and keys disappeared with him, but he left behind his gold 1997 Toyota Camry and his reading glasses on the kitchen table. He did not own a cell phone. There's also been no activity on his bank accounts or credit cards. Investigators found notes indicating Harrod was planning to put Heater's name on various accounts. A dispute between Harrod's daughters and his second wife over Harrod's estate developed after he vanished. On August 7, 2009, two of Harrod's daughters filed a petition of conservatorship to gain control of their father's assets in order to free up money to offer a reward for information leading to his whereabouts. Heater contested the action and moved into the house, changing the locks shortly after. Harrod was declared legally dead in 2014. His daughters inherited his home and Heater was evicted. In April 2019, two persons of interest were arrested in connection to Robert Harrod's disappearance. They were later released pending further investigation, and authorities declined to identify them. Initially, Harrod's family suspected his barber might have been involved in his disappearance, though investigators were unable to substantiate those claims. Prior to marrying Heater, Harrod had reportedly lent $86,000 to a younger woman who was his barber over a period of 9 months. The woman and her husband were brought in for questioning, but investigators found no evidence that could link them to his disappearance. No evidence of foul play in Robert Harrod's disappearance was found, nor any evidence that he is still alive. He was declared legally dead in 2014 by his family. A $50,000 reward is being offered by his family for information that leads to Harrod's whereabouts or to the arrest and conviction of anyone involved in his disappearance. Authorities are investigating the case as a possible homicide, although they found no evidence of foul play to suggest a crime has been committed. His case remains unsolved. Caucasian male. Partially gray hair, bald on top with blue-gray eyes. He is 5'11" tall and weighs 160 to 170 pounds. Robert was last seen wearing white shorts, white knee socks, a white V-neck undershirt, a white belt, a white hat, and a pair of white Reebok tennis shoes. He possibly had a gold wedding band on his left hand and a Masonic ring with a red stone behind the Masonic symbol on his right ring finger. If you have any information regarding the disappearance of Robert Harrod, please contact the Placentia Police Department at 714-993-8168.
Number 6.
21-year-old Dane Elkins has been missing since December 21, 2020. His last known location was in the Grapevine area of Castaic, California, near the I-5 freeway and Templin Highway. Dane Elkins was born in 1999 to parents Brett and Deborah. He grew up in Brentwood, California, and attended Paul Revere Middle School and Palisades Charter High School. Elkins holds 23 worldwide junior racquetball titles and was featured in the Le Times and the May 28, 2017 issue of Sports Illustrated. He is the second person in USA racquetball history to win all 3 number 1 gold divisions at the USA Racquetball National High School Championships. He was also the 2017 National Paddleball Association Juniors 18 and Under National Champion and holds a black belt in Taekwondo. He is currently an engineering student at UC Santa Cruz. Dane Elkins' last known location was in the Grapevine area of Castaic, California, near the I-5 freeway and Templin Highway at 8:20 p.m. on December 21, 2020. His car broke down due to flat tires, and he called 911 a few times, saying he wasn't feeling well. When authorities arrived on the scene, they found his abandoned vehicle on the side of the road with flat tires, but Elkins was gone. His wallet and cell phone were left inside. Authorities searched the area where his car was found for 2 days, and community members have been organizing search efforts in hopes of finding him. Elkins was living with his parents at the time he went missing and had told his family he was leaving to go live with friends. However, his friends say they haven't seen or heard from him. According to his family, Dane is suffering from mental illness and needs urgent care. His mother said she believes he was suffering from paranoia the last time she spoke with him, and that the COVID-19 pandemic may have taken a toll on his mental health. She believes he could have hitchhiked or traveled to a number of locations, and she's been attempting to get the word out in communities throughout Southern California, as well as in Kern County, to be on the lookout for her son. His mother says Dane feels at home in Bakersfield, and a few homeless people believe they've seen him there, but the sightings have not been confirmed. Family members are asking the public not to directly approach him, as he may leave the area. If you believe you have seen him, please call 911. Elkins is a Caucasian male with brown hair and green eyes. He stands 5 feet 11 inches tall and weighs approximately 170 pounds. If you have any information regarding the disappearance of Dane Elkins, please contact the LAPD's Missing Persons Unit at 213-996-1800, the LAPD 24/7 hotline at 877-527-3247, or the TIPS hotline at 800-222-8477. His missing persons case is number 20008-17726 with the Los Angeles Police Department.